Hi everybody, it's Mary and it's so right again. Today I'm going to be talking about yarn couching with a different foot. So if you saw my previous video, it was all about embroidery, but now it's in the sewing mode. So there is this foot from Viking, and it has 3 large holes here. I threaded them already because it took a little bit of time and I didn't want to waste your time doing it while you watched. But you would take, there's 3 holes here and they're large, so when you have larger strands of yarn, it'll be easy to thread them. You also will get this tool with the foot so that it'll be easy to pass the yarn through the holes. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to thread this. This particular foot, Viking has other feet with different holes, but this one is to accommodate the very large yarns, and there's 3 holes here, and it's called the 3-hole yarn foot. So you'll also have this tool with it, so you'll put this through the hole, and then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to pass the tail through the loop. There's a loop there. It's like fish line, so it's hard to see it, but I just passed it through, and I'm going to pull the yarn through that hole. Okay, so now that I got all my yarns through, and you know, because those holes are very large, you could probably put 2 strands of yarn through 1 hole. When you do that, I do recommend that you take the tails and put a knot at the end. Why? Because as you go to put the foot on the machine, I can't tell you how many times I unthreaded them. So just put that knot there. So now you won't have to worry about losing your threading of the yarns. So now I'm going to place this on the machine. I am working on the Husqvarna Viking Topaz 40, designer Topaz 40. And I'm in this machine can also embroider, but I'm going to use the sewing mode. Whenever you're doing decorative stitches, just like embroidery, you can use the bobbin thread for embroidery in your bobbin. And here I have a thread it's an embroidery thread from Exquisite, and I'm using one that complements the yarns. And like I said, those of you that saw my previous video about yarn couching with embroidery, that was the sample that we used. So I'm going to use this same piece of fabric to stitch with the yarn couching in sewing. I also want to say the particular yarns that I'm using are from a company called Spangle Yarn, and they had so many great colors, but it was a kit from a long time ago. But I do know that these yarns are available, that you could purchase them individually. I've seen them on the internet. And like I said, I've got my foot ready, and I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm going to just pick a stitch. Right now, my machine is set for straight stitch. That would just stitch the one yarn that's in the center. I want to be able to couch all the yarns. So I could pick things like a zigzag. So right now I will do that. I'm going to pick a zigzag, but I'm going to end up wanting to pick something a lot more interesting than that. So let's go. I'm going to start stitching. And I'm noticing that when the needle goes all the way to the left and all the way to the right, it's not quite catching the furthest to the side yarns. So I'm going to go in and change my stitch width. I'm going to make it a little bit wider, and I'm going to stitch. Now when I end up bringing this out, you're going to see the different variations, but I want to continue going. So I'm going to switch to another stitch. I'm going to switch to, let me try a feather stitch. I love feather stitches. So I'm going to come into the D menu, and I'm going to scroll to the next page. Oh, there's the feather stitches. I'm going to pick this one. So here we go. So now it's stitching all 3 down at the same time. And if you've seen my previous videos, I've always said I spend so much time making stitch samples that I never get to the real project because I don't know which one I like the most. So now I'm going to switch to another stitch. So let's try this one. Oh, my tail of my embroidery thread. Come on, get out of there. There we go. And look at this. My yarns are tangled right here, but as they go through, the holes are going to put them into their proper place, so I don't have to worry about that. They're guiding them beautifully. I'm going to pick another one. Let's try. Let's see. I'm going to go back to my menu selection, and here's your menus. I'm going to come into this one, and I'm looking for that one. This could be interesting because, let's see, the center one, the center yarn, might not be getting as much stitching as the side ones. Oh my goodness, I can see what's going on in the back. I can't wait to show you this. So now that I've showed you different variations, oh wait, let me try one more. I'm going to go into a serpentine stitch, and I think that's in the D menu. There it is. I'm going to pick one of these. Let's try this one. I'm going to do this one. Then I'm going to take everything out of the machine, and I'm going to show you what the results were. Can't get enough of this. Love it. So I'm going to trim my needle thread. I did happen to have a loop of yarn at the end, so let me just, I'll trim these. Oh my goodness, look at this. Here's where I started. Here was the zigzag, and it was the normal width that came up on the machine. And it did catch, actually. I thought it wasn't catching each edge, but it is kind of loose. When I increased the stitch width, which was here, it did grab it better. But you know what? A zigzag is a zigzag. It's not fun. Ah, here we go with the feather stitch. Look at how beautiful this is. Then as I came down, I picked a different one that was grabbing just on either side. And then came to this one. And it did grab the center yarn. But you know what? I never knew until I tried. Here was the serpentine stitch. Oh, this one is beautiful. I think this and the feather stitch are my favorite. So the whole theory is that you've got to experiment. And yeah, you might be experimenting so much that you're not going to get the project done the same day. But you're going to have your samples. And keep your samples. Put them in a notebook so that you can always refer to them. Make notes of what stitch number that you did, if you changed the stitch length, the stitch width. And then you'll be able to go back and do maybe exactly the same thing because you loved it so much, like I like my feather stitch and my serpentine stitch. I want to tell you another idea because yes, I used yarn for this, but for those of you that might have done hand embroidery in the past or still do, I don't, I now have an embroidery machine, but I have a whole, this is mine. I have a whole collection of embroidery floss. Oh my gosh, I am not going back to handwork, but I can use this in place of the yarn with the 3-hole yarn foot. These, when you have embroidery floss, each string has 6 strands, but you can now put 12 strands through one of the holes in the 3-hole yarn foot. So those of you that might have a collection of embroidery floss and you don't know what you're going to do with it, now you got a couch. You got to bring it to your sewing machine and couch it, and then you'll be so happy that you didn't waste the embroidery floss that you have had for years. So I hope you enjoyed today's class, and I know I'm going to see you again soon. So have a good day, and bye.